Welcome into the Wednesday edition of College Football Live, along with the patterned dress shirt duo of David and Dez. I am Matt Chick. The big story of the week so far emanates from Ohio State, where defensive end Nick Bosa says he will withdraw from school and focus 100% of his attention on the NFL draft. This after an injury sidelined him for the last month. His father, John, says this was not an easy decision.
As a family, just a horrible decision and just a heartbreaking decision for us because it's, as you know, I think we were going to witness one of the most amazing years a defensive lineman's had here. And obviously Nick was focused. His, part of his goals was, to see how far we could get through down the playoffs. And so it was a very difficult decision. But obviously as a family and to look at the repair and for his future health and continuing his career, this is the right decision to make.
And the family did tell our ESPN.com's Adam Rittenberg that he could have been available probably around December, so maybe in time for the college football playoff, but instead getting ready for the draft. Dez, are you okay with this decision?
Well, I mean, listen, first of all, I have children. David has kids too. If your child is hurt, if your child is legitimately injured, there is no difficult decision. All that he just tried to sell y'all, it was just laughable to me. That's a very easy decision if he's that hurt. If he's that injured and you know that your son has a future in the NFL, don't sell me this, it was such a tough decision for us to make. No, it's not. First of all, because you don't want to see your kid get injured even more. And second of all, you know what his future is. So just keep it 100 as opposed to trying to sell us this sob story about how it was so tough. So I'm not really buying that. You guys can, I'm not.
I hear what you're saying, Dez, and I agree with most people too, but I will say this. Nick Bosa does look like a kid that just loves to play. Like you throw a ball out there and he's like a little puppy dog, you like throw it and he goes and fetches it. So I think it might have been, that part of it where you're like, listen, I want to get back into action. I want to play. But he's making a decision about his future. And he has the right because it's his future. And we've talked about this a lot already. I'm sure people are sick of hearing it, so there's not much to elaborate on. But, the dad coming out and talking about it, I'd like to hear Nick talk about it. If anybody, I don't want to really hear Dad. I'd prefer to hear Nick. But, this decision's it's done. It's moved on. And Ohio State's going to have to move on without him.
And, the second part of that, David, is if he could have returned in December in any other sport, we would talk about a team getting their marquee player back when they need this person the most. December, we're talking playoff. If you tell me, hey, man, you know what? The Packers are without Aaron Rodgers, but they're going to get him back for the playoff. You're like, hell yeah, I like that. That's when we need him the most. So for you to say, he probably will return in December, why would you not return to your team when they need you the most? So, like I said, y'all can bat it out if you want to, but I didn't just fall off no turnip truck.
Yeah, maybe tough in terms of the emotional recognition that this is going to be a tough thing to have to give up college football, but certainly the right decision there. I will say this, though. We've seen guys not play in bowl games before. Bowl games where you're not going to win a national championship, not part of the college football playoff. And you see the list here. It really hasn't affected any of these guys when it comes to the NFL and the success they've had and the money they've made so far. But this is different. This is a guy who had a chance to compete in the college football playoff. So I wonder, David, is this maybe a trend we'll see? If not guys decide, I don't want to play in the playoff, but maybe guys that say that are high-round draft picks, mid-season, their team's out of the division race, no chance at a championship, say, you know what? I'm going to pack it in here in mid-October and get ready for the draft.
Unfortunately, yes, Des. And Matt, I think this is something that we will see in the future because we've seen the evolution of it with the bowl games and skipping bowl games. And now this is, listen, Nick's hurt, and it's a major injury. And obviously, it's going to take some time to come back from regardless. But, Des, once one person does something like this, you know what it does. It opens the floodgates. I think people will do this, unfortunately, because I hate it personally. And listen, everybody has their own views, and everybody can be on whatever side they want. Des, I wonder about your future, or back in the day, by the way. If you could have come back late in the season, you know you could have played, would you have done that in college?
Well, first of all, what's the question about? Will we see a trend here? Like, will guys not play in bowl games, or would they just
no,
leave?
not bowl games. When people now are out of playoff contention and their teams, 2-4, they're struggling, whatever. I'll mail it in.
Bosa's team is in playoff contention. They're like, they're supposed to be one of the top teams in the country. So that's not the argument here. The argument is if a team is in playoff contention with a guy, cash it in. And I hope we don't see a trend. I agree with David because, we love college football. We want to see the big matchups. We want to see both teams at full strength when they play in the big game. So we hate to see anybody of his caliber not playing in a marquee matchup that can determine who's going to be in the college football playoff or who's going to be in the championship game. So that hurts us. We don't like that at all. We hope it's not a trend. But with that being said, I'm probably the biggest player advocate that you'll ever meet and that you'll ever see. And I think this is a result of a trickle-down effect. You see coaches doing this now. You see coaches who they jump ship. They leave a program after recruiting all these kids. You think kids don't recognize that? They don't notice that, and it doesn't affect them? So now if they're put in a position where they have to make a business decision, a smart financial decision, then they're going to do what's best for them financially because they've seen coaches and programs do the same thing.
It's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens again with Ohio State. I think it's one of those things that I think we can all agree. As college football fans, we don't like it. But for the person, the player, the business decision, we get it. And Godspeed and good luck to you as Nick Bosa heads to the NFL draft. Likely going to be a top 5 pick, just like his older brother Joey was. All right, so Ohio State's still a contender, though without him, in the college football playoff. There are some teams that were preseason contenders that have turned into in-season pretenders. Like a team like the Auburn Tigers, you see the offensive woes at or near the bottom in multiple categories in the SEC. That after their third conference loss of the season, this one to Tennessee. Des, are you concerned at all about Auburn's trajectory of the program?
Very concerned about Auburn at this point. I didn't have high hopes of Auburn coming to the season. Don't forget, I know everyone was excited because they beat Georgia one week, then they come back and they beat Alabama, and they were looking really good. But then they got exposed in the SEC championship game in the rematch against the Georgia Bulldogs. And then UCF took care of them in a bowl game. And now you think, okay, they're returning Jarrett Stidham and all these players on offense. They're going to be okay. And they can't even run the ball. So I'm very concerned with the path that the Auburn Tigers are on right now, David.
And last week, it looked like the mail-it-in game. It looked bad. It was one of the – listen, I've been on teams, Des, and you might have been too, where the defense is really pulling their weight and pulling like crazy, and the offense is sputtering. And let me tell you something. It's annoying. It is annoying, and you start getting the back and forth, and you're like, come on, y'all want to do something? Hook me up here. And listen, Auburn's schedule was brutal this year. We knew coming in it was going to be brutal. But Gus Malzahn, and here's what the Auburn fans say. He got his contract extension. Now what happened? There's always been contention back and forth with Auburn fans, it seems like, with Gus, and it's never good enough and blah, blah, blah. But this obviously doesn't help when you got a first-round draft pick type quarterback and you got all kinds of issues and a mess on offense.
I tell you what, we're going to see what this team is made of now moving down the stretch and see if they do mail it in, like David said. Was that a mail-it-in game, or will they be able to bounce back and look competitive on the gridiron? I'm really curious to see what this team looks like moving forward.
Yeah, Gus Malzahn last year went from being on the hot seat to cashing in with a $49 million new contract. Yeah. That's not too bad, but they're 4-5 in their last 9 games with one win over a team with a winning record. All right, so Auburn, according to our metrics, and look at their record, not going to make the college football playoff. Our metrics say Oregon isn't either, and the Pac-12 isn't either. In fact, Washington, a 2-loss team, according to our playoff predictor, they still have the best chance to make the college football playoff.
Stop it.
Do you want the question, or do you just want you can just go?
I don't want the
go?
question. I just can't.
All right,
what is this garbage? How does Stanford have as good of a chance to be in the college football playoff as Oregon? Please tell me that right now. Like, I would love to know.
I can't explain it.
Stanford is gone. Like, go ahead and put it at negative 4,000%. Just go negative.
Maybe because they beat Oregon. Maybe I have no idea. It makes no sense to me either, though.
But what, I don't think. And Washington has a chance now as a two-loss team with one of their losses being to Auburn.
Yeah,
Oregon is the only one with a chance.
Team. Oregon. So I agree with you. Like Oregon's got to be the team right now in the Pac-12. You're hitching your wagon. Dez is there. Is Oregon as dead as our metrics would lead you to believe, or are you still on board with them having a chance at the playoff?
Hey, I'm not going to argue with the computer system you guys got up there in Bristol.
It's an abacus.
I hear you.
I thought that they were still alive until I saw those percentages.
Dang, Dez just unplugged the monitor, man. Good Lord.
Basically. Yeah, I like the Ducks, man. I like their chances.
It's the concern. No, I think the concern with Oregon comes down to what we've seen from the committee in the past. Strength of schedule, specifically in the non-con, where you got Portland State, you've got Bowling Green, you've got San Jose State. Remember, that's a lot like Washington a couple of years ago, but you had multiple two-loss champs, David, with Big 12 and Big 10.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why their chances are alive, because I think we're going to have a lot more people get upset. I don't think there's going to be a lot of undefeated teams in the end of this season. And here's the thing I know we can confidently say. If we really look at that Stanford game, they beat Stanford. They lost the scoreboard. So if it's coming down to it, Dez, and I got them on a resume with somebody else, and they run the table and they look really good, and we know what the quarterback brings to the table, we've seen them over and over, and they're clicking on all cylinders and playing great, I can forgive an early loss in the season when I know they dominated the game if they continue to look great down the stretch of the season.
It will be very interesting to see how the committee evaluates a one-loss Oregon.
It's already over. Look at the computers. They're done. It's done.
And look at that loss to Stanford. Yeah, it's over. I don't know. Sorry, Mario Cristobal. It's over. That's what our metrics say. Ducks trying to make that push to the playoff. Those favored to make the playoff aren't without their own concerns. What's keeping the head coaches of the top-ranked teams up at night? Clemson's concern this week is NC State. Saturday, ESPN. It's the only matchup of unbeatens, and we've got it. Top 20 matchup.
College Football Live is brought to you by Principal, Investments, Retirement, Insurance.
Time for ExxonMobil's unexpected energy. Here are the teams that ESPN's playoff predictor gives the best chance of making the playoff at this point in the season. Clemson right now, the highest % chance, followed by Alabama, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. Welcome back into College Football Live. Matt Schick, David Pollack, and Desmond. Guys, wake up!
What?
There they are. David, sorry to wake you guys. We're in the B block here on College Football Live. I know that music can do some things to some people. No, it's okay. No apologies necessary.
You're so good at your reads. You put us to sleep. Sorry.
Very good. Yes, I'm so good. Oh, such an energetic voice I have. It puts you right to sleep. Look, obviously you guys have no issues with your sleep habits. See what we did there. But maybe there are some head coaches that do, specifically even in the top 4. Let's start with Alabama, David. You're Nick Saban. What causes you to maybe pace around in the middle of the night right now?
That's easy. Tua's knee. I mean, that is the easiest decision in the world. I mean, this right here, I'm sliding my right knee. I've been getting healthy, and I'm still kind of practicing. And I got the best player in college football, one of the best players in college football, and that right there would be the only thing right now because I'm smashing people in the head with frying pans, but my quarterback just not feeling good.
I'm with you, David. You can sell the public what you want, but I tell you what, if your quarterback scrambles like that and he tweaked his knee again, that knee is a little more fragile, and they're trying to lead on to people. So I think that's something to keep an eye on because that's not cool. That's not a good situation. Just sliding and then you retweak your knee. I'm concerned with that.
Des, what about Dabo Swinney? What's he going to Walgreens for a Lunesta for? What's his issue?
Well, I think going down the stretch, you got to be concerned with the quarterback play. He's about to play some tougher opponents now, some guys going to get after Trevor Lawrence in that offense. And, you want to see how he's going to respond. And, you don't have much behind him at this point either. So I think keep Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback, play and making sure that he stays healthy. The first time he started, he was knocked out of the game with a concussion against Syracuse. I would think it would be the quarterback play of Clemson.
Why are you worried about Chase Bryce? That boy came in there and started spinning bean, baby. Let's go. Backup quarterback looked great. I tell you what, for me, it's their pass defense. They played a bunch of option teams early in the season, play A&M, gave up a lot of big plays in the passing end, and I think you saw the same against Syracuse. Obviously now, NC State, that's what they do. They spread the ball around, throw the football a lot. So to me, it'd be my pass defense because I know my guys up front are some hosses.
All right, next unbeaten in the top 4. How about Ohio State, David? What's Urban Meyer wandering around at night about?
Their defense, giving up big plays. I mean, just over and over and over again. It's just rinse, repeat. I keep watching linebackers try to fit RPOs and looking like it's a foreign concept. And so to me, because I think they're good enough up front, even without Nick Bosa, to be a really good defense. It's just the secondary giving up, or the second level guys giving up big plays.
How about the running game? I think he's really concerned that they're not able to run the ball at a clip in which he's accustomed to. When you return Mike Weber and J.K. Dobbins, 2 sensational running backs, they were supposed to be like the dynamic duo of the country, not just the conference, but of the country. And they're only averaging like 185 yards a game right now. And Weber and Dobbins, they haven't reached expectations. So I know there's such an unbalance. I mean, they're number 1 in the conference in passing the ball, David, throwing for over 370 yards per game. So we know they can throw the ball, but he needs that balance. Urban Meyer's offense is better when they can run the ball, and they have not been able to run the ball that well so far.
And back to that defense, of the 8 unbeatens remaining in the FBS, nobody gives up more yards per play than Ohio State, more than 5.5, 76 nationally in the FBS. All right, Brian Kelly, Notre Dame, Des. What's keeping him up at night?
I tell you what, I think it's just a matter of how is his team able to handle success, and will they have that letdown game? We thought maybe a week ago when they played Pitt, that would be the letdown game. So I think that might keep him up at night. I think they have one of the best teams in the country right now, but they're not used to this level of success so far. I mean, we see them make an incredible run last year, but then, David, we were here down in Miami when they took on the Canes, and then they got embarrassed. So I think he doesn't want that to repeat itself.
I was just about to say that's some lazy footage there. We're showing plays from last year with Notre Dame versus Georgia and stuff like that, but then we brought the Canes into the mix. But I think for me, when I look about this team, the offensive line and the physicality and the run game has been their identity. I think Ian Book and this passing attack, they better protect him. He's been hit a good bit. Last week was the first. He got banged around last week, and you saw him fumble. You saw him throw 2 interceptions. And so I think just if you're going to be a team that spreads it around and makes decisions, you got to protect that guy to make big plays. And they've struggled the past couple of weeks to protect him and keep him upright. Now, I think some of that's injury, but that's part of the game, and they're going to have to figure that out.
Notre Dame unbeaten to this point. Their season began with a win over Michigan. Michigan has not lost since that game. Up next, Michigan takes to the road in States against Michigan State. Is that point spread a little too high? They're favored by a touchdown. We'll see if David and Des are buying it.
Play of the game! Unbelievable!
The odds of that happening were very low, as evidenced by Sean McDonough's voice going very high. That was 3 years ago today. Michigan State stuns Michigan. Michigan, a 7-point favorite on the road at Michigan State. David, too high or too low?
I'm not great with these things, but I guess because of the way these games have unfolded, I guess it's too high. But I will say I think Michigan's in a really good spot because they've got all the people out there chirping Des about Harbaugh versus his rivals. They got those clips to show them, and I don't think Michigan's going to be going into this game saying anything about little brother. I think they're fully aware of how good Michigan State is.
Yeah, like David said, just because of the way these games normally play out, you would think that number is too high, but I think this year you just may get a little different result. Now, don't get me wrong. Michigan State, they're going to give the Wolverines all they can handle. We thought they were left for dead after losing against Northwestern. What did they do? They just turned around and went up to Penn State and beat them. So I think at this point, it's probably too low.
Let's stick in the Big Ten here. Nebraska, winless. Vegas doesn't care. They're a 4-point favorite over Minnesota. Des, too high or too low?
Wow, you know, David, I'm not too good at these things either. I think it's too low. I think if they win this game, Nebraska has to win by 5 points, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yep. That's right. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I think if they win this game, it'll be by more than 5 points, so it'll be too low.
Nebraska's knocking on the door, man. They're getting better.
Yep.
You see signs of improvement. Obviously, a lot of house has been cleaned with Nebraska, but I don't know if they've truly found out how to win yet. So I guess I'd probably take the points. Minnesota looked pretty good last week this season.
It's the first time an 0-6 team is favored over a team with a record of 500 or better in 29 years. John Zone, a researcher, punching out that number here. Game day, not going to be there in Lincoln, Nebraska for that one. Headed to Pullman, Washington. Washington State is a 3-point underdog at home, but the chances are very high that we're going to have a great time. Look at this list from Chris Felica, places we have not been for College Game Day. Where do you want to go on this list, Des?
I would love to go to Minnesota. That's the home of where Prince was born. They got great music, great vinyl, it's a great area. I like Minnesota.
David?
Give me Iowa State playing good football, and it's a great little hidden stadium, little hidden gym.